Good evening, hockey fans, and welcome to another episode of Snipe, Celly. My name is Dan Bradley. Alongside me, Joel Fernino. Joel, we are at the playoffs, buddy. How are we feeling?
I am excited. Playoff hockey is the best time of the sports year, in my humble and also extremely correct opinion.
I mean, it's really hard to be better than where we're at right now. I make an argument for March just because with March Madness,
Well,
with everything going on there,
I get
or
that.
October. I think October is the best sports month. You have pro and college football. You've got the World Series coming up for baseball, the start of the NHL and NBA seasons. For me, that's the best sports month of the year. But NHL playoffs, hard to go wrong.
And how about that start? We got some. I don't know, man. High level. It was a good start. I'm not trying to make a joke on you here. I saw that face. I'm just saying. Day one, we already got some scrappy shit going on. I mean, it's only day one and we got 2 fines, a suspension. We got a hell of a lot of offense, which is kind of odd to see in game 1 of any playoff series, especially in the first round.
Yeah, what I was actually laughing at is we got our first comment of the night, courtesy of HP. Good evening, fellas. Good evening, HP. For those keeping count at home, it has been 1 day since a Minnesota sports team hurt me. Yeah,
that's the cross. We need the wood.
That's fair. I mean, okay, you know what, Joel? Here's a stat for you. I looked this one up today. In the Wild's franchise history, they have 24 home playoff losses. They have been shut out in 8 of those 24 home playoff losses. That is 33%. So there's a 1 in 3 chance that on any given night, the Wild are going to get shut out in a home playoff game. They have not been shut out in the regular season since 2020. They have gone 2 full seasons now without being shut out at home in the regular season. But each of the last 3 years in the playoffs, they've been shut out at home. So I don't know what changes. I don't know why they're white-knuckling their sticks or whatever, why they're intimidated of the playoffs, but that's what it seems like right
game 1.
See, you say that, but
say that.
You look at the overall history here, and it is not on the Wild side at all.
Yeah, Cubs didn't win a World Series in 108 years. What happened in 2016?
If you're telling me I have to wait 108 years to watch the Wild win the Stanley Cup, I might as well just end it now.
I don't really think you got to do that because you've only been a franchise since 2000. So,
well, yeah. So if I do have to wait 108 years, I got no shot. It's just not happening.
You're not going to wait 108 years. I don't think it's going to happen this year, but you're not going to wait 108 years.
Yeah, Wild 14 and 24 is their home playoff record. So they lose more than they win at home in the playoffs, which is not so much for home ice advantage, which they have and appear to have now squandered. So, yeah, I think 1 day since a Minnesota sports team has hurt me, I think that's fair.
You don't really – I wouldn't say you squandered it. You can at most come away tied 1-1.
Well, if we win – I mean, we presumably could have as many as 3 more home games. And if you win that 3rd home game, that'd be game 7. You'd be moving on. But got to get at least 1 on the road here. And the Wild have not beat the Blues this season. So
to anyone viewing, don't worry. I'll be talking Dan off this friggin' Minnesota Wild playoff ledge all damn night. So let's just get this rolling.
For anybody else though who is watching and has something that they want to share throughout the show, you've got a comment, you've got a playoff prediction you want to share, something that's got you going in the playoffs. We're charged up. It's going to be a fun, energetic show tonight.
Well,
How can it not be? It's the best time of year. Let us know. We are live streaming right now on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and on Facebook. If you have a comment you want to share throughout the show, let us know. We'll put it up on the screen here, read it like we did for HP. But Joel, I want to jump right in with what was the most surprising result on Monday. We had a couple of shutouts, as we mentioned. The Wild were one of them, but they weren't the only team to get shut out.
Yeah.
The Tampa Bay Lightning, a 5-0 loss to the Maple Leafs. Hurricanes 5-1 over Boston. The Kings 4-3 over the Oilers. Joel, what was the most surprising result to you from yesterday's NHL action?
I mean, is there really any other answer than how the Maple Leafs just completely manhandled the back-to-back defending champs? Not just manhandled, shut out, manhandled physically, I mean, what the Lightning had a 5-on-3, and I think it. I've been hearing a lot of takes of it was pretty much like the most abysmal power play that anyone has ever seen.
Well, and
And
you don't expect that at all from Tampa Bay to be
no, even
bad power play team. That's not their style at all.
I could probably get into John Cooper's mind, and he would probably agree with me that that was the worst game he's ever seen Nikita Kucherov play in his entire career.
That's fairly likely. I wouldn't disagree with that statement.
And hey, man, how about Matthews and what was it? It was a Marner finally broke his goal drought in the playoffs. He hadn't scored in a playoff game since 2019.
I think we're going to see a breakout playoff performance from Mitch Marner. I think he needed to get that one out of the way.
Yep.
And now that one is out,
the monkey's off his back. He's good to go now.
He's on cruise control now. He broke the seal. He's ready to go. I think he is going to score at least 3 more in this series before all is said and done.
Matthews too. I mean, him and Matthews are both going to go off. Matthews is like, 60 goals. I'm just going to go ahead and continue this one.
like you said, the series isn't over when it's 1-0.
No,
but that was a statement game from Toronto last night.
Look, you'll hear me say it throughout the entire show. It's just game 1, but there are times too where you can watch game 1 and see how damn good a team is, and if they come out firing on all cylinders, it's kind of hard to bet against them at that point.
I got a question here, going back to the Wild for a minute. How many of the Wild are playing injured, sick, walking wounded? Will that still be a factor in game 2? I think everybody is banged up a little bit at this point. Right. We have Zuccarello was hurt but came back. Foligno hurt but came back. Dumba, Spurgeon. Spurgeon we're going to talk more about here in a little bit too. We got to talk about Spurgeon here and that whole mess. But this is the time of year where everybody is playing through something. And once the season actually ends, we'll find out, so-and-so, is playing on a partially torn ACL. So-and-so is playing with a bad wrist that's going to need surgery at the end of the year. So we playing through whatever. Everybody hurts. Everybody's banged up at this time of year. And when you dial that up with the intensity of the playoffs as well, every hit hurts that much more. But because what is on the line and what you're playing for, it's easier to put it in the back of your mind, tune that out, and just keep gunning for it. So
that adrenaline. Well, that's why at the end of the playoffs, all those crazy injuries come out. Like, 2013, Patrice Bergeron was playing in the Stanley Cup final with a punctured lung. Like,
just insane.
Yeah, or like it's insane. There's also mental injuries, and I think Connor McDavid has a mental injury being caused by another teammate, and his name is Mike Smith.
Oh man, I said this when they first got Mike Smith to be their answer. If you're counting on Mike Smith right now to be your goaltender for the next however many years, you're wasting McDavid and Draisaitl's prime. You really are. And then they signed him to a 2-year extension before this season. He's got nothing left.
The best tweet I saw last night during that game was just like, why, and I quote, why in the hell is Mike Smith playing a playoff game, let alone starting a playoff game?
Yeah, you look at the other goaltenders, that are really like in his class, if you want to call it that, like age group, roughly. It's Fleury, who objectively, I don't think anybody is going to say that Mike Smith is better than Marc-Andre Fleury.
If they do, they should probably start thinking about talking about other sports because they don't know what the hell they're talking about in hockey.
Right. Henrik Lundqvist, retired. Corey Crawford, retired. To a degree, Luongo, retired. So these guys are either retired or just better than Smith. Like that's where it's at right now.
It's not even just like even everyone you just mentioned. If you took the retired off, they're still better than Mike Smith today.
Oh, I don't know.
Who of that list is not better than Mike Smith right now?
You're gonna hate me for this, but wait till you hear. Wait till you hear. Let me get through the point first before you judge me for it. Corey Crawford, after everything that he went through and after all of that time away from the game, with the injuries that he has had throughout his career, having not seen him play in how long now, and knowing that his heart isn't in it.
I wasn't saying
If that were the case, I would think Smith would be better. But if we're
but
talking about both of them have continued to play and had not missed time, had not
that's
been
what I was
hurt,
talking about.
then I would give you Crawford. But with those two right now, it's hard. I don't know how you don't say Smith.
Well,
but
no, but the point was not about like not unretired, just as if none of them were retired.
Right. So even there, yeah, Mike Smith is not the answer.
And it's really funny because it's literally deja vu watching Mike Smith in the playoffs. It doesn't matter what sweater he's wearing. I remember in 2012, yeah, the first time I really ever truly watched him was because he was, that series against the Hawks, and the Hawks ended up losing in 6.
When he made the Coyotes relevant for a year.
It wasn't just him either. But yes, that was, probably the only big standout I could think of. But it's funny the deja vu you see, because that game-winning goal that was set up for the Kings last night was exactly what Mike Smith has been doing his entire career, no matter what sweater he is wearing. He thinks he can go behind the net and all of a sudden play defenseman, and then he turns the puck over, and I get it. He did make a pretty damn cool save off the first initial turnover that he caused, but that turnover still completely knocked the entire defense out of sorts. And you don't make it, and you make a turnover like that in the defensive zone, everything's just mass hysteria. And it ends, the next shot on net ends up going in anyway, even though he made that cool save at the first. Like, it's, dude, if I'm McDavid or Draisaitl, especially if I'm McDavid, who, we talk about offices, right? We talk about Gretzky's office behind the net. We talk about Ovi's office, right near the top of the circle.
Yep.
Yeah. McDavid's office is just simply the other team's defensive zone with 5 defenders around him. That's his office.
Yeah. And Mike Smith, your office needs to be between the pipes. It is not the trapezoid behind the net. It is not at the face-off dot. Stay in the net. I think that's the MO for...
If McDavid is not screaming at him, and if you see Mike's... Well, I would never bench a goalie after game 1 of a playoff series, but if you see Smith doing the same shit next game, and they lose again, like, no, get him out of there.
And I mean,
stop the bleeding.
It's not like, the Oilers have a deep goaltending, pipeline. The backup is Mikko Koskinen, who really not very good numbers. He had one good year in his career and has still been getting paid off of that. But goals against average, over 3.0 each of the last 2 seasons, a 903 save percentage this year, 899 last year. It's not good.
I know. And that's kind of what sucks. And that's why I think I ended up kind of going and riding the extreme. I mean, hey, to be fair, it's the hot offensive hand at least. And I actually made a bold prediction that the Oilers would make the conference final, and I am not feeling good about it now.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that kind of game, and we'll get to this in a minute. You know what? Let's throw that one up on the screen right now. LA Kings 4, Oilers 3. Kings with a 1-0 lead in that series. You took Edmonton on this one, and I took the Kings. This is one of the very few that we're looking at differently here. For me, I think the Kings' defensive style is so stifling to what the Oilers want to do. It's such a trap. And to use a different sports analogy, the Timberwolves in their playoff series against Memphis had multiple double-digit leads in the fourth quarter. Granted, they couldn't hang on to them, but Memphis was a 2 seed and the Wolves were a 7, and the Wolves outplayed them for most of that series. I think we're going to see a similar situation here where even though Edmonton is the higher seed in the series, that LA is going to take advantage just because of the systems they play, the matchups that they have, the personnel that they have. I think it creates a better situation for them to win in this series unless we really see a different level, not just out of McDavid, not just out of Draisaitl, but out of that entire team. It cannot be just those two creating everything offensively.
Well,
You
and
know,
that
we
last
have to
night,
see Warren
last night proved
Fogle
that.
step up and get goals. We have to see Nugent Hopkins, Yamamoto, Puljujärvi. Those guys have to be the ones stepping up too. It can't just be McDavid and Draisaitl for the series.
Well, it's really funny you say that too, because Draisaitl, McDavid, and Yamamoto all scored last night, and we still couldn't get the victory.
Yeah, so Yamamoto, to his credit, he scored, but it has to be the rest of the team. It cannot be. It's not a two-man operation here.
The name of the game in the playoffs is depth scoring, man. I don't care how much star power you have. If you're gonna go deep, you need depth scoring.
So, just for the record, official picks here. I still said Kings. You said the Oilers. How are you feeling about that prediction right now? And do you think, what do the Oilers need to do to come back in the series?
Again, this is a series where I go back on it's just game one. If obviously clearly McDavid and Draisaitl are coming out of the gate, they both put up a goal in game one. That's a damn good start. Usually they've had slow starts in their last couple playoff series in the past years. Yamamoto's scoring. Obviously they had their chances. To me, it's going to come down to, is Jonathan Quick back? Is he on a ride me off into the sunset type of tear here that'll be able to propel the Kings and hold off that offense, not just the Kings stifling defense, because the Edmonton offense can get around that defense, but that's where Quick comes in, and Quick was stellar last night.
Yeah, 36 saves on 39 shots, 3 of them on the power play. Saw just all sorts of angles. Like, it wasn't like Edmonton wasn't throwing every puck at the net. HP saying, goaltending's a big issue for Edmonton too.
And he beat me. He's getting to my point exactly. Like, if Quick is going to truly keep this going and have his stifling defense in front of him too, and if the Oilers can't sustain that high-powered offense that we know they have, and if their defense can't keep up either, because they're going to have to take a bunch of steps because they don't have the goaltending. So, I mean,
go ahead.
No, that's it. I mean, they don't have the goaltending. So that's why, like, I'm still okay. If they go down 2-0, then I'm probably just going to have to, send it in, or throw in the towel there, that I don't think Edmonton's making it past the Kings, let alone to the conference finals.
Well, and the amazing thing for me, we were talking about how good the Kings defense is. Drew Doughty is out. He's done for the year. He's not coming back. And I would argue that their second best defenseman, Sean Walker, he's been out basically the entire season. But they're still playing so well, team defense, and not just from their defensemen either. They're getting solid defensive forward play from guys like Philip Deneau and Alex Iafallo. It's the depth pieces playing their roles and playing it well that is going to cause problems with the matchups for Edmonton here.
You mentioned Philip Deneau, and it hurt me I have to go on a quick tangent here. And
here we go. Here's our Hawks tangent for the night.
It is a Hawks tangent, and it is the at least as of, with last night, all 4 games, it seems like a bunch of ex-Hawks had impacts, big or small, in all the games. I mean, Tavo scored for Carolina. David Camp scored for Toronto. Saad got an assist for the Blues. Traitor. Duncan Keith with an assist for the Oilers, and then you just mentioned Philip Deneau with an assist and the game winner. So, I mean,
yeah. Imagine if the Hawks had held on to those guys. Where would they be right now?
We wouldn't be able to pay some of them. But also, yes, again, how many times do I have to say Stan Bowman is a piece of shit? But he's gone. Anyway, there's my Hawks tangent. Let's go on.
Next up, Maple Leafs 5, Lightning 0. This one jumped off the page.
That game was so fun to watch.
A lot of teams would look at that 5-0 blowout in the first round of the playoffs to a team like Toronto, who is stacked, and kind of phone it in and hit the panic button. But you don't get to be the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champions with that type of mentality. This is a very focused Tampa Bay team. However, this is a very tired Tampa Bay team.
Yep.
They more games than anybody else in the league over the last 2 seasons by virtue of their cup runs. I believe even if you include the 2019 playoffs in there, you still have the most games.
Oh yeah.
I think. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's the case.
Well, yeah, because in 2019 they were conference finals, were they not?
No, 2019 playoffs. Wasn't that the year that they got broomed by Columbus?
Oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it was.
That was in between because they had made 2 consecutive conference finals the 2 seasons prior. Then there was the sweet year, right? Okay.
I think if you go back one more, Boston might have the edge, but I'm pretty sure it's.
How's that worked out for them?
Well, we'll talk about.
We'll get to that. I know.
Yep, they're next. But looking at Tampa Bay, what does Tampa Bay need to do to come back in this series, and how well Toronto played? How short of a series is this going to be?
I mean that's where I still like. This is I jump off the whole it's only game 1 take on this because I mean, damn, did Toronto look as stacked as they were supposed to be? Like this is the team that had been kind of quote unquote.
I just get to
talk. I just get to talk. All right, cool.
Yeah, you just get to talk.
Now, I was really confused at what just happened right there. I'm the star now. No, I mean, you know, the Maple Leafs have been kind of getting crowned, so to speak, as like, look, they're gonna be in the Cup final or they're gonna be in the conference finals, and that's been getting said the last now probably 3 seasons, maybe 4 if you include this year, and they have not lived up to that whatsoever. And now last night looked like that exact team that had been getting kind of prematurely crowned the last couple of years. My God, man. And what does Tampa have to do? I mean, you kind of said it. You know, they're back-to-back. They're the back-to-back champs for a reason, right? Like one blowout shutout game. I mean, they're mentally prepared and they have the experience to be able to handle that. But I mean, I definitely I tripled down on that they will not be three-peating this year. And I mean, I think last night kind of proves it. Like if they can somehow rally the troops and, and plus think about from the betting aspect too, like, isn't the smart money to bet on Tampa in this next game, right? I mean, you get
game 2,
you get trashed that hard and you're the 2-time Stanley Cup champs. Like I'm not going to be surprised if they lose, but it's like, if they're going to win any game this series, it's got to be game 2.
I mean, hard to say because they are on the road. So that does make it tough. But looking at the lines for tomorrow night right now, Toronto minus 130, Tampa Bay plus 110 on the money line. So we do have a comment here. How about them Pens?
How about them Pens?
We'll get to them in a minute here too, because they're playing tonight. They're as of right now, they're scoreless.
That's right. That's
the first one. They're playing the Rangers right now.
This pigeon needs to get off my damn balcony.
Pigeon.
I
didn't realize Antoine Roussel was on your balcony.
Well played. A rat with wings.
Anyway, I think we've kind of covered the bases here. Toronto is probably, I think they're going to take the series.
I'm feeling good about that pick, man. I think it's finally their year to get through a first round. They have not won a playoff series since, can you guess when?
It was before the 04-05 lockout. I know that much.
It was 2004.
So 2004. Yeah. Was their last one.
Yeah,
there's only one team that has had a longer drought without winning a playoff series since then. Do you know who that is?
Are they currently in the playoffs now?
Yes.
Oh. Would that be... Huh. No. What the... They're in the playoffs now?
Yep.
They haven't won a playoff series.
Right. They have not won a playoff series.
Or 2004?
since before 2004. Come on, this one isn't too hard.
Oh, the Panthers.
There you go. Add a kid.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, had HP jumping in with it too. Florida. Yep, he got it. So that's
Yeah,
the only team that has a longer drought of winning a playoff series than the Leafs. And frankly, I don't see how both of them don't win a playoff series this year.
Well, that's why it was
unless
so
something
confusing.
goes terribly, terribly wrong.
I look at that logo nowadays and I'm like, what? That team's a juggernaut. What do you mean? But I completely, they weren't a juggernaut until this year. So yeah, that's
right. Well, even last year, I would have contended that Florida was probably maybe the third best team in the East last year behind Carolina and Tampa Bay.
Yep.
But they match up with Tampa Bay in the first round and they're done. So
that was a bad time for
just
them.
The way things shake out there. And speaking of Carolina, we got to get into them here too as we're cruising right along. Hurricanes 5, Boston 1. Some big performances there. Antti Ranta, 35 saves in the win. Trocheck, a goal and an assist. That goal from no angle. Give me fuel, give me fire, give me Nino Niederreiter. We got a goal from Nino.
Yeah,
in that one.
Turbo.
Tavo Teravainen scored in that one as well.
I miss him.
Carolina's good, man. This is going to be a fun series, and I think Boston. I mean, they had a clunker last night. I think the rest of the series will be a lot closer, but Carolina's looking good right now, and they have their starting goaltender on the bench.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, truth be told, this is probably one of the couple series I'm not that interested in, only because I feel like we know how this is going to go. It's going to be Carolina in 5, maybe 6 if Boston steals a second game. But I mean, come on.
Yeah, I think Boston will win one at home, and Carolina will win the series in Game 5 in Carolina.
I think just to be different, I ended up picking. I did 6 games instead of 5. It's the same reason why I decided to be like, Oilers Hurricanes in the conference in the semifinals. Let's go Oilers, just to be different.
Yeah,
I'm feeling that's a stupid decision. Nobody agree with me if you're gonna go start betting that. That was just to be different.
Yeah, I think for me, we're seeing a Boston team that is on the way down. It's the end of the.
You see the pigeon? It's in the camera now.
I do. Yeah. Okay. Antoine Roussel, what's up? Give us a shout out.
Antoine Roussel's a piece of shit. Continue now.
Yes. So back to playoffs. Boston is on the way down. They're scaring them off. The end of the Tuukka Rask era. Bergeron, as phenomenal as he was this year, not a whole lot left in the tank there. They've kind of depleted the reserves on their draft picks over the last couple of years because they've been trading them to get guys. The Taylor Hall trade has sort of worked out, but not nearly to the degree that we thought it was going to.
No, but it's from at least a Taylor Hall production, standpoint, it's definitely worked. Just not for a team aspect.
HP's chirping you. You ready for it?
Is he? Wait, chirping? Chirping me? No.
Nope. That's just Antoine Roussel. Looks a lot like Patrick Kane, if you ask me. I don't know if I agree with that one.
Do you mean the best American-born player to ever play the game? Yeah, you're right. Yeah, maybe. Best.
Second best. For now, second best. We'll see where he's at when it's all said and done. But
right, fine. No, I mean that's why there's a lot to say about this, and I think I didn't watch a lot of this game. I was kind of following it, and I saw it was close. I think ESPN kept kind of giving us the bonus play because this was during the Tampa game, right? Yeah. So
yeah, those were both going at the same time.
They were playing
one
a little
on ESPN,
bit.
One on ESPN2.
Yeah. So they were playing it a little bit, and when it was, when Taylor Hall made it 2-1, I'm like, oh, okay, that could be something. Maybe this is going to be close. And then
elite defenseman Charlie McAvoy on the primary assist.
Exactly. Look, I saw a tweet he led the team in turnovers last night. He's basically, give me Like,
Yeah, when you handle the puck as much as he does, turnovers
Yeah.
are gonna happen.
Exactly. Also, who would you say is like his understudy on the Bruins on the blue line? Like, who is his, like, you know, who's the second best defenseman on the Bruins, you'd think?
I mean,
The fact that you even have to think about it, right?
yeah, because I mean, nobody plays the role that McAvoy plays, so it's really hard to call anybody a true
That's
understudy.
and
But as
that's what
far
I'm
as the second best defenseman on the team,
yeah,
I almost wonder if it's Lindholm who they traded for.
I would agree.
And
And
yeah, it hasn't quite again worked out to the degree that they thought it would.
exactly. And so basically you think about it too, and they're not on the same line if I remember correctly. Or are they? Are they on the same pairing? I don't remember. Again, I
Let me
wasn't really.
check that.
Well, I'll say the take anyway. If they're on the same line, then I'll run it back. It's fine. But McAvoy's kind of on his own back there. if Lindholm is on a different line, McAvoy's kind of on his own.
Yeah, because right now it's McAvoy and Grizzlick, and Grizzlick was
Okay.
honestly going to be my certainly before the Lindholm trade, he would have been the one that I would have put second on that list. Would have been Grizzlick.
There are a lot of Bruins fans chirping him too.
Yeah, Bruins fans are never happy with their team. They could win the cup, and they would, if they won the cup in 5 games, they would be mad because they lost game 2.
I mean, I know one level-headed one but I know another one that thinks, Charlie McAvoy sucks, and that's just not true.
Oh yeah, we're definitely milking the bit now for that guy.
Exactly.
So let's just move on and keep things moving here. St. Louis Blues, Minnesota Wild. This is the last game we had from last night that we haven't covered here. Wild just embarrassed at home in a 4-0 loss. 0 for 6 on the power play. Gave up 3 power play goals. Special teams absolutely brutal. But the ugliest thing that I saw on the ice last night was the Jared Spurgeon play, and we have to talk about it here a little bit. Spurgeon, the Wild captain, with a cross check to the back of the ankle, for lack of a better way of describing it.
It was the calf.
It was ankle. It was a pretty clear intent to injure type of situation. He was handed down a $5,000 fine from the Department of Player Safety. Really, on the one hand, I think the Wild are lucky that they didn't lose Spurgeon, who is their captain, for at least one game. I don't think, especially after seeing that the Kyle Clifford boarding play in the Toronto game resulted in a 1-game suspension there after he was given a 5 in a game during the game. So he was 5-minute major, thrown out of that game, and suspended for 1 more for boarding. But you see that type of play there. It's like they're punishing the result and not the action. That's how it comes across to me. So for that reason, I'm a little worried about what that means for the rest of the series. Do the Blues retaliate? Do they, make a play like that on Kaprizov or Fiala or Spurgeon, who, I mean, Jared Spurgeon is not a big guy. He's not a big physical defenseman. He's 5'9", 185. Like, that's not a guy who is going to muck it up after the whistle. That's not his game. And
I mean, dude, especially this one in particular, I wanted to, now that it's the last game we're talking about, like,
HP already wants us to stop. He doesn't want to relive the game.
Well, we're about to relive a lot of it, so here
sorry,
we go.
HP, we're gonna have to get into this one.
You're gonna have to suck it up. I mean, this game more than the other 3, but still, the common theme. Dude, I love the chippiness in game 1.
Oh, absolutely. From an entertainment
all
standpoint.
of them. Every single one. What was it? I believe it was Pat Maroon basically getting bloodied up by was it Morgan Riley in the Tampa-Toronto game, right?
Oh, and that one, yeah. I was like, wait a minute. Pat Maroon isn't still with St. Louis.
No. I'm talking I'm saying every single game.
You changed lanes on me, and I didn't follow the lane change.
There was a theme. Like, every single game had, also, real quick, now that we're on the final game, every single game had a lot of offense. That doesn't happen in game 1 of the playoffs, especially in the first round. That is, game 1 is usually that feeling out process, and you're usually, you'll see some, 4-3 games like Kings and Oilers. You'll see a 5-1 like the Hurricanes and Bruins, where that game you kind of expect something like that. But, 5-0, 4-0, We're 7 goals in a game, 6. 4 being the lowest, but usually you're seeing like 2-1, 3-2. You're seeing some overtime because it's such a feeling out kind of defensive process before you can really start to figure it out by game 2 or 3 and start breaking through. Same thing with the chippiness and all these, hey, how are yous after the whistle, if you will. And I mean, that usually doesn't kind of start until at the very least game 2. Game 1, you kind of get the chirping back and forth, which then carries over to the second game, and that's when it starts to get a little bit physically chippy. But man, I loved it. And this game, this whole tangent has a point to it. This game in particular was the most chippy. I mean, obviously there was some fisticuffs getting thrown in Tampa, Toronto, so I'm excited to see if maybe that one surpasses this game. But this game more in particular, because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, this is much more of a rivalry than Tampa, Toronto.
I mean, I don't think that's unfair to say.
Exactly. And you saw it. Hell, you saw it in this game in the first period.
Yeah, I mean, from the opening puck drop, you could tell that the teams were going at it, and we had a total of 12 minor penalties and a penalty shot called in that game.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about the penalty shot.
Which, granted, the penalty shot, that was the softest
it was
call I've ever
bogus.
seen.
That was absolute bullshit.
Was textbook defense. If I'm a coach and I'm telling young hockey players how to defend when you're trailing from behind on a breakaway, that was how to do it. I'm calling up that clip.
He didn't touch his hand.
He didn't touch his hand. He didn't take the stick out of his hands. It was just clean defense. It was a good old-fashioned stick lift. I didn't see any problem with it.
Exactly.
He didn't come down on the stick either. Like, he came up.
Oh, he lifted up.
Which is what you're supposed to do, because if you come down on the stick, that's going to be called a slash every single time.
Exactly.
Like, referees are trained to look at that. So I don't know what more Brodin could have done on that one, but Fleury made the save on the penalty shot. Puck don't lie.
Right. Exactly. Nope. I mean, exactly. So, and I mean, yeah, I mean, even you saw, like you mentioned, your usual peaceful captain getting fined for that cross check to the calf ankle area. I don't think it was straight ankles. I also, like I told you, I called it. He was getting fined. He wasn't getting suspended because he got up and he was fine.
Yeah. Again, though, they're punishing the action and not, or the result and not the action. Because
and I get it, but I would even say this to an extent in the regular season of, like, you can't just start throwing them out like they're mints on a table. Just suspensions, I mean. And that's in the regular season. You get into the playoffs, I mean, the refs they're supposed to start allowing a little bit more of that. It's like, you up the intensity, let the boys play. Obviously, I don't want to see people getting completely obliterated from behind into the boards and breaking their necks, but like stuff like what Spurgeon did, I would not have a problem with that. Fine, fair. Suspension, no. I would be calling for, the heads would be rolling if I were a Wild fan and Spurgeon got suspended for that.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like
I am a Wild fan. What am I saying? I am a Wild fan right now.
You are right now, because you want that first round pick.
Well, did you not see my tweet? Not just the first round. Yeah. You're playing the Blues, man. I might as well get a Wild tattoo at this point.
I would love it. It would look really weird opposite your Hawks tattoo, but what are you going to do? And we had a comment earlier about Penguins Rangers, so let's move into that one here as we're moving right along. Rangers with a 1-0 lead right now. Adam Fox with the goal in that one, a laser beam on the power play to give the Rangers a 1-0 lead on Pittsburgh. Joel, who did you take in this series, and who are you taking to win tonight?
Oh, dude, I took the Rangers. That's hence the clapping. I took the Rangers. I'm taking the Rangers to win tonight. I don't remember how many games I did for this one. It wasn't a sweep, but it might have been 5, but I also like, Penguins are the Penguins. I mean, this is how many years in a row the playoffs now? Is this 12? 13 maybe?
That's a great question. I should know that off the top of my head, and I don't.
They didn't break the streak. No, they
didn't. Oh no, they're not even close.
No. So maybe it's even more. Maybe it's 13 or 14 at this point.
16.
16. Okay, I was going to say, because they were at 11 when the Hawks got to 9. So, yeah, never mind.
Yeah, so they... I'm trying to see when this article was posted. But yeah, yeah, that was 2021. So yeah, so this year making it, yeah, it would be 16.
Okay. So that's pretty damn good. I mean, Pittsburgh has their star power. Like, that's why I don't think it's going to be a sweep, let alone 5. I could see it going 6, just because the Rangers can kind of be a little streaky at times. They're still damn good, and they are winning the series. Mark it down, but you know, there'll be 1, probably 2 games where the Rangers kind of fumble it and let them get away. But tonight, Rangers. Sorry, Isaiah.
Yeah, I mean, this looks like a really good series for the Rangers. Pittsburgh is always a team that is tough to beat in the playoffs, in the regular season. It doesn't matter. They're a tough team to play against. They are very, very well coached.
Yep.
And very disciplined a lot of the time. I think that the Rangers have the upper hand in this series, but Pittsburgh is sneaky, man. Like, this is a team that absolutely could rally and come out of nowhere here. Tristan Jarry being out for games 1 and 2, that's tough. I think that definitely puts them in a tight spot. But HP chiming in right here with what I think is going to be the story of the series. Igor Shesterkin, who's just on another planet right now compared to the rest of the goalies in the NHL. I mean, he is really having a phenomenal season. Will be your Vezina Trophy winner.
Potentially your first goalie to win the Hart in how many years now?
6. Last was Carey Price.
Right. So,
which was actually, that was the year that the Wild traded for Devin Dubnyk at the trade deadline. And my vote was Dubnyk for Vezina and Price for the Hart. Because you look at how well
Dubnyk
played. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Price got them both and he deserved them both. But my heart wanted Dubnyk that year just because of how well he played.
But yeah.
Could Shesterkin get the Hart? Yes. Will he? I think it's Austin Matthews to lose at this point.
Or McDavid.
I think it's Matthews.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but
I think McDavid will be probably 3rd. Kirill Kaprizov could be top 5 in the voting when all is said and done.
Top 7.
Give me top 5 on this. Let me have this one.
Fine, I'll give you 5. I will give you 5, the 5 seed of the top 5.
I mean, I'll still take that because I think he does deserve to be up that high. I think Johnny Gaudreau is probably up there as well. But like, one of the arguments against McDavid as a candidate is that he's playing with Leon Draisaitl, and one of the arguments against Austin Matthews is that he's playing with Mitch Marner. You can't make that argument for Kaprizov because there's not another teammate or line mate that is on his level.
I mean, yes.
So for that reason, I could see him getting some votes. Is he going to be top 3 on anyone's ballot? Probably not. I'd be really surprised if he was. And the Minnesota Wild-based hockey writers who would have a vote in that matter, I would think might put him up there, but would not put him top 3. I think they would be not exactly homerish in that take. But to bring it back to Penguins Rangers, we both had Rangers in this series.
And Shesterkin is a big reason for it. And now Adam Fox scores the first goal in game 1. The defense is getting the scoring first. Come on now.
Right. You're defending.
That's not a good sign.
Yeah,
exactly. That ain't a good sign if you're letting them get going.
Right. Well, and just think about once Panarin, Zibanejad, Kreider, even Lafreniere to a degree as well. Once all those guys get going, that is a scary Rangers team, especially if Shesterkin can continue to play to that level. Speaking of scary-looking teams, Florida Panthers, Washington Capitals. Quite the transition there. Panthers, your President's Trophy winner. Capitals, the best 8 seed in history. First time in NHL history that there have been 8 teams in a given conference with all over 100 points, making the playoffs. Capitals 44, 26, and 12, 100 points on the dot. Joel, do the Capitals have a? I'm going to put it this way: over or under 0.5 wins for the Caps in this series. Will the Caps win a game in this series?
Man, like I have them winning one.
I do as well.
I have them winning one, but man, I don't know. it's tough. I mean, I think we're gonna be able to see tonight. Here. I will stick with what I said. Yes, I do think over. I think the Caps can get one. However, I'm probably going to run that back, and you'll see a tweet come out from me if the Panthers just roll all over them tonight in game one.
Here are the scores from the regular season. At Washington at Florida, 5-4 overtime loss for the Caps. Okay. At home, 4-3 win for the Caps over Florida.
Close.
And then at Florida, a 5-4 loss.
Wow. So, all 1-goal games.
Yeah, all 1-goal games.
Wow.
One of them in overtime. And the Caps scored 4 goals in each of those games. So it's not like Washington can't hang here.
No.
It's just that I really think that's a tough.
Yeah, and how spaced out were those games in a 7-game series? I mean,
yeah, and when you're that familiar with each other at that point in the season as well.
And I mean, the dog days of the regular season start to get upon you. That's the Panthers.
Well, this was even early in the year, so it was November 4th, 26th, and 30th. So those teams have already changed quite a bit since then.
Exactly.
That's before the Panthers went out and got Claude Giroux in the mix as well.
The Panthers this entire season were a semi-truck rolling down a mountain.
Yeah, all gas, no brakes.
It's just
powerhouse coming through.
Slow, but it's still good. It's slow, but it's still good. And by the time we got midway through the season, it was just 80 plus miles per hour down that hill. I mean, yeah. I think the Caps can get a win. Maybe even 2. Maybe. I don't think so though. I'll take the over 0.5, but Florida's a juggernaut, man. Now, granted, I will throw devil's advocate out there. We said the same thing about Tampa when the Blue Jackets swept them. But this is a little different.
In fairness, that Tampa team was banged up down the stretch.
Yeah.
And Columbus was coming on strong, and with the trades that they made at the deadline.
And I'll throw it out there. Lightning fans can yell at me. This Panthers team is better than that, way better than that 2019 Lightning team.
Yeah, Florida looks really good right now. I've got a soft spot for the Caps, but I think this is Florida's series.
If the Caps can somehow push 6 games, it will be because the great 8 Alexander Ovechkin wills it. So that's probably it, though.
Speaking of teams imposing their will on everyone, too, Colorado Avalanche. We go from one powerhouse, the powerhouse in the East, to the powerhouse in the West.
I love it.
And another one. I'm going to ask you the same question here. Over or under 0.5 wins for Nashville in this series?
Now, I understand it's very hard to sweep. But again, I'm going to stick with what I said. Under. This is the only sweep I have right now in the first round, and I feel pretty damn good about it.
I think if UC Saros was going to be playing in this series,
you could get one.
They could get one. Yeah. He's going to be out for at least the first 2 games. I think at that point,
you're just going to be so outmatched and so just beat up. Like, oh my God, what the hell are these waves coming at us? Like,
well, and Nashville, again, this is the second year in a row that they have had to really turn it on the second half of the season to even get to the playoffs.
They tiptoed in, man.
Yeah, they really did. They missed out on getting to play Calgary in the first round because they lost to the Arizona Coyotes in the season finale.
Missed out.
For the bit. I mean, you missed out in the sense of, Calgary isn't as good. They're still a very good team. And certainly one that could go toe-to-toe with Colorado. But if I'm picking which of those 2 teams I'd rather play in the first round, I'd certainly rather Calgary than Colorado.
I agree.
I said under here too. Colorado is built. They've got depth for days. Their star power is so much higher than everybody else in the Western Conference.
Colorado is just a respawn in a first-person shooter at this point. It's just like every year now the playoffs start, and it's like, dude, they're going to make a run. They're going to make a run. Yeah, they have underwhelming results so far, but it's like just, all right, respawn, let's try again. Like,
yeah,
and they just keep getting better every time they do it, too.
Yeah, it's unreal how good Colorado is on paper this year, but that's why you got to play the games and you got to fight it out. And speaking of Calgary, here we'll get them our last series preview. Dallas and Calgary. This is another one as well. I don't see any way that Dallas offensively keeps up here. Dallas was one of the lowest scoring teams in the regular season. Calgary, elite goaltending play from Markstrom throughout the season. Yeah. I expect that to continue into the playoffs here as well. I'm trying to get some numbers up here. Calgary, the sixth highest scoring team, just over 3.5 goals a game.
Yeah.
Dallas at 21st in the league, 2.84 goals per game, the lowest of any team to make the playoffs this year.
Right.
Actually, even fewer than the LA Kings, who were bad offensively all year as well. I don't see Dallas.
No. This is a series where I said that it's 5, that Dallas could steal one, but I'm actually starting to have doubts on that, and I really don't know. I chose the sweep to be Colorado-Nashville. But I'm really just slowly going, man, maybe I mixed them up. Well, not mixed them up, but maybe I should have added one more in there. Just like Dallas and Nashville, yes, they made the playoffs. Good for them. That's about it. That's all you can really say about either of those teams.
Yeah, the Western Conference is top heavy with, I would argue, the top 4. And at this point, it's almost even looking like a top 3 of Colorado, Calgary, and the Blues. Granted, Wild finished second in the conference. Blues were just behind them, but those are your top 4. I don't think that's a stretch to say. I don't think that's that's what the numbers say. You are who your record says you are. Those are the top 4 teams. I don't see how it's not one of those 3. Coming out. And the reason I say one of those 3 is because with the Blues and the Wild playing each other before getting through to the next round, it's going to be those 3 of those 4 are going to advance.
Well, I also realized during those recaps of last night, we didn't actually end up saying who we chose for those series.
Oh yeah, let's run through that real quick.
Some time.
Blues Wild. Yeah, we got a couple more minutes here. Blues Wild. I said Wild in 7. I'm standing by it. But last night hurt. That was a game that the Wild needed to win, and they came out way too flat.
Something tells me this is going to be a dogfight. I said Wild in 6 because I really did expect the Wild to come out swinging. Like, look, we've been here before, and we continue to, choke, whether it's in the first or the second round. But I really expected this year to be different. I really did.
The Wild have been choke artists recently. I think that's fair.
I really expected them to come out hard. They didn't. They're trying to figure it out. I think they will. I think they will take game 2. But I got them in 6. But I think you're probably right. I mean, I still have the Wild, but maybe it's 7 now. But I said 6.
Carolina and Boston. I think we were both in agreement on this one. Carolina and 5 is what we had. You said 6 maybe.
I think. I gave Bruins an extra game.
Okay, yeah, I
don't feel good about doing it now, but
right, you had Carolina in 6.
Yeah.
I had Toronto in 7 in this one. Again, looking like it could be shorter now, but I so badly want this series to go to 7 games so that Leafs fans have to sweat it out through Game 7 at home.
Right, and then finally, I think that'd be exciting for them to finally get through that Game 7 and win the series. But yeah, I also had Toronto in 7. But again, after last night, I don't know, man.
There is no team in hockey whose misery causes more universal joy than the Toronto Maple Leafs. When things are bad for the Leafs, the rest of the hockey world laughs. And there is no other team that does that to the degree that Toronto does it. I have some friends who are Leafs fans, and to see them sweat it out through game set, I pass the heart medication. That's what it would be.
Pretty much.
But that would be such good hockey to see that series go to 7 games. And I think it will. I think Tampa Bay isn't going to go down without a fight, especially not after getting waxed like that in game 1. I just don't see it. I think that one goes 7. I do think Toronto comes out on top, and you said Toronto there as well. Yeah. And then Kings Oilers. This is the other one where we were different. Is I went with the Kings on this one. You went with the Oilers.
Did we both go 7?
I said Kings in 6. I think they take the series at home in game 6.
Yeah, no. I still it was that again, this is shaping up to be the best series, well, at least of last night's matchups, of course. I do love that how they stagger it, and we're gonna know it's the same matchups every night, so that's cool. But yeah, of last night's matchups, man, this could be the most exciting series. I definitely see this going 7, but I think the Oilers pull it out, man.
I hope you're right. Hockey needs more McDavid and Draisaitl in the playoffs and on a bigger stage. Absolutely. They really do. These first round exits can't keep happening. And I would love to get this one wrong just because of the entertainment value that those guys bring. Yeah. Especially if Calgary wins too, and you're telling me we can get the Battle of Alberta in the second round of the playoffs. That would be a chaotic playoff series. That would be so much fun to watch.
Bloodshed, no penalties.
It would be violent. It would be Blues Wild on steroids. It would be insane. And the reason I say on steroids too is there would be some roid rage on top of that too. I mean, it would be just loose cannons all over the ice. That would be about as fun as it gets. Wednesday night picks. We don't have Wednesday night picks this week because we just gave them to you. Those were our NHL playoff predictions. You'll notice Joel
and the
is the champion of season 1 with that 48-32 record, but a 3-0 week for me last week to close things out. I got back into the winning 500. Column, got the winning percentage above 500, so we're doing all right for the year. And the best part of all of it, Joel, Coyotes for the bit.
Coyotes.
That's what came through for us to get us back over the top. It wasn't just that the Coyotes covered against Nashville in the season finale. It was that they won outright. The Coyotes beating 3 playoff teams to end the regular season. They beat the Wild, they beat Dallas, and they beat Nashville. 3 playoff wins over playoff teams in a row to close out the regular season. Coyotes for a bit. What a way to do it.
That team in ASU for the bit.
Yep. We're going all in on Arizona hockey for the bit. Speaking of bits, 2 minutes for roughing. Joel, I've got this one this week, so would you be so kind as to put 2 minutes on the clock for me here?
I got you. That's the stopwatch. We don't need that. Pigeon, do you want to help? Yeah, you're gone. You better be gone. All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
Not yet. Go.
When it comes to the NHL playoffs, one thing that has really gotten a lot of attention and scrutiny over the last couple of seasons is the discrepancy between how penalties are called during the regular season versus during the playoffs. And statistics show there is a difference between what gets called, the frequency of the penalties that are called, but also the frequency and timing of when penalties are not called. I understand that officials do not want to have an impact on the outcome of the game during the playoffs. And yes, there are those who will say, oh, the refs fixed this game. No, they didn't. The refs did not fix the game. Stop that. The league doesn't need it. It's not happening. That's not the case. But at the same time, a referee who is afraid to make a call is making a call. If you are not making a call, that is making the same decision that can have the same impact on the outcome of the game. And it extends beyond just what the officials are calling on the ice. Beyond that, it goes to things like the Department of Player Safety, who that's a joke. To say that it is a Department of Player Safety, we have seen time and time again through the regular season and the playoffs, the Department of Player Safety does not actually care about player safety. If they do, they would change so many of their policies. Plays that we see that currently are getting fines would be suspensions. Things that are 1-game suspensions now might be 2 or 3. I understand you want to keep your stars on the ice. You want to keep guys playing. I get that. But when you open the door to all of the chaos that comes from not calling penalties and from lax punishments when penalties are called, that spirals out of control. It's bad for the game. It needs to stop. That's my 2 minutes for roughing tonight.
Man, I don't know. There's some irony in that, because I'm pretty sure you have rode that it's fixed train plenty of times for plenty of scenarios.
And part of that is just the bit to get people going. I don't think hockey is fixed. I think it's fun to jump on and be like, oh, the game is fixed. It's fun to do that from time to time, but I never actually believe that the fix is in, that the game is rigged. It's fun to get you going when I say that the lottery draft is rigged for the Hawks to win. Why? Because it's funny to get you going.
I get it.
But do I think that the lottery is actually rigged? No. Except maybe a little bit during the Rangers getting Lafreniere. No, I'm just kidding. But there's the conspiracy theory that I do believe the NBA draft lottery has been rigged before. I very much do believe that. I do not think that's the case in the NHL. It hasn't been an issue where, the bent envelope so that the New York Knicks get Patrick Ewing. It's not the LeBron leaves Cleveland and then the Cavaliers win 3 of the next 4 draft lotteries after LeBron leaves. It's not that type of situation. I don't think that the NHL is in the business of those types of fixes. But when you decide not to make a penalty call at the end of a game, you are still making a decision that affects the outcome of the game. We saw in the Wild game last night, we saw 12 minor penalties called plus a penalty shot awarded. And as much as I was not happy with Kelly Sutherland, who was the referee for that game,
he's usually one of the good ones too.
I would rather have a referee who is calling penalties as they occur because they are in fact penalties than just letting everything go because it's the playoffs. The officiating standard can't change from the regular season to the postseason. There's so many issues that rise about with that, with what is and isn't a penalty. Call the rule book, keep it simple for everybody involved too. For the casual fan watching to understand, hey, why wasn't that a penalty? The rule says this, that's a penalty.
That's fair. Now that I will end on this question for you. In Tampa, Toronto, even though it didn't make a damn difference, was that a goal or no goal?
I saw one still frame angle of it, which for me is not enough to change a call. I need to go back and actually watch the video of it and watch it at speed. The still frame that I saw was remarkable because it looks like 99% of the puck is over the line. Maybe even 100% of the puck is over the line.
And it almost looks like there's some white there, but it's like, is there? Because it's a little pixely, and obviously we don't get what Toronto has. Ironically enough, it was in Toronto. Is the war room just live during that, right? Are they just like there live?
It's different than in the NFL, where, for example, for a player to score a touchdown, the nose of the football has to break the plane. That's all that's required. The entire football does not need to cross the plane of the goal line for it to be a touchdown. But in hockey, the puck needs to completely cross the line.
I'm asking this question fully. No,
I don't see how, that
was no goal.
It was a brilliant tweet I saw earlier today that said, imagine showing this camera angle to somebody who's never watched a game of hockey before and saying that is not a goal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's chaos. It really is. But yeah, to bring it back to the point and just kind of put a bow on that, all I'm asking for is consistency. Consistency from the regular season to the playoffs, consistency and discipline as a result of those calls. That's what I'm asking for here. Be consistent.
Let the boys play. Now send us out.
There's a difference between letting the players play and choosing to ignore the rule book.
Yeah, I know.
You can let, to a degree, some of the physical stuff go. And I mean, you see how much the Wild and the Blues were in each other's faces after the whistles. You saw the same thing in Toronto and Tampa Bay. We've seen it in every series. But there's a difference between letting the players play and choosing to ignore the rule book. And too much of the choosing to ignore the rule book is going on right now.
Game 1, man. The refs are getting used to it.
Game
too,
1.
Man.
And
the refs are getting used to it too, I guess.
And
did I just defend refs? Who the hell?
Who are you? What have you done with Joel?
We need to sign off. This isn't good.
We're completely off the rails now. We're unhinged. It's the playoffs. What did you expect? I mean, everything gets magnified and blown up and out of proportion. And yeah, the playoffs are so weird. Joel just defended referees. That's where we're at.
Why do we have to document it again? It's already on a recording.
Yeah, just to make it very clear that in the annals of history, you defended refs.
Hockey refs. You know what? That's fine.
Refs.
I'll defend hockey refs sometimes. NFL refs? No. Scum.
Fair enough. That is where we are going to end the show for tonight. As a reminder, you can catch us on demand anytime on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. Or if you want to re-watch the podcast, you can watch us on YouTube as well. We are live Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and on Facebook. But that is it for tonight's episode of Pod Snipe Celly. Thank you to Noop Sports and the Sports 2.0 Network for giving us this platform to talk about hockey. Thank you to everybody who commented throughout the show as well. We always appreciate that. We are a viewer-driven show, so as much as we can try and get that interaction, we love it. It's fun to hear takes that aren't just from Joel and I. As much as we like to give our takes, we also want to hear what you have to say about hockey as well, and what you see differently than we do. So, but that is it for tonight's show, and we'll see you right back here next week, Tuesday, 7 o'clock, 6 Central. For Joel, I'm Dan. Have a good night, everybody.